The digital footprint dropped 10 minutes ago. An offshore account, a set of photographs, and a name that carries the GDP of a small nation. The media hasn't caught the scent yet, but the extortionists gave you exactly 1 hour before they pressed send on the global blast. Look at the phone in your hand. The patriarch is waiting for your call, expecting a miracle. He thinks the problem is the money. You know the problem is the leak. If you pay them, you bleed forever. If you ignore them, the empire burns by dawn. You don't negotiate. You control what they think you know. You are sitting in the absolute, suffocating isolation of a Maybach Pullman, idling on the tarmac of a private, unnamed airfield. It is dusk. Outside, a torrential downpour violently lashes against the tinted, 2-inch thick bullet-resistant glass. But inside the reinforced cabin, you hear none of the storm's fury. There is only a heavy, muffled drumming, a low-frequency thud that feels more like a heartbeat than weather. The acoustic separation from the outside world is total. This is a sensory deprivation chamber designed for apex predators, a multi-million-dollar metal cocoon built to keep the chaos of the world at bay. The interior is consumed by deep obsidian shadows, smelling faintly of cold, rich leather and ozone. The only light source is the harsh, alert red glare of the secure satellite phone resting in your palm. The glow catches the sharp, geometric lines of your tailored cufflink. Your thumb grazes the edge of a heavy palladium lighter. Snap. The metallic sound is razor sharp in the dead air. Close. You repeat the motion. Snap. Close. It is the only outward manifestation of the immense, crushing pressure threatening to cave in your ribs. The encrypted phone vibrates. It is not a ring, but a jarring, mechanical buzz that travels up your arm and settles at the base of your skull. The caller ID displays a single white asterisk. It is the patriarch, the man whose signature moves global commodity markets, whose philanthropy builds hospital wings, and whose private vices are currently sitting on a server waiting to detonate. You swipe to answer. You do not speak first. Did you see the package? The voice on the other end is brittle, stripped of its usual boardroom baritone. It is the sound of an emperor realizing the castle walls are made of paper. I have the file, you reply. Your voice is a flat, controlled whisper, utterly devoid of inflection. They want 50 million in Monero, the patriarch says, his breathing shallow and rapid. The Singapore photos, the Cayman ledgers. If this hits the wire, the SEC will halt trading before the bell. The board will trigger the morality clause by noon. It's over. We have to pay them. Whatever the wallet address is, fund it immediately. Do you hear me? Pay it. You listen to the tremor in his voice. You are witnessing the collapse of a titan, reduced to a panicking hostage by a string of digital code. He is terrified of his legacy burning. He wants to throw money at the fire, assuming his wealth is a universal extinguisher. I am assessing the vector, you state calmly. Stay off your primary devices. There is nothing to assess, he snaps, the panic curdling into desperation. Pay the ransom. You terminate the connection. You do not offer comfort. You do not promise salvation. In this exact moment, his panic is a liability. You drop the phone onto the leather seat next to you. The clock on the encrypted terminal built into the partition reads 47 minutes remaining. 47 minutes until a synchronized script dumps gigabytes of financial heresy and moral bankruptcy to every major investigative journalist, regulatory body, and rival hedge fund from London to Tokyo. The silence in the cabin rushes back in, heavier than before. You close your eyes. The pressure in your chest is immense, a physical weight pressing against your sternum. This is the true, unfiltered reality of proximity to power. You don't get to enjoy the glamorous wealth, the super yachts, or the adulation. You only get to manage the toxicity. You are the architect of the shadows, the custodian of their sins. When the people who own the world break something beyond repair, you are the one who has to descend into the dark to fix it. You look back at the extortionist message. It is a minimalistic, tauntingly simple interface, a countdown timer ticking down the seconds, a Bitcoin/Monero wallet address, and a secure portal link for communication. You make the ruthless choice. You will not transfer a single cent. To survive this level of the game, you must understand the fundamental flaw in the patriarch's logic. He believes this is a transaction. It is not. Extortion is a hostage situation, where the hostage is infinitely duplicable. If you pay the 50 million, you do not buy your reputation back. You merely fund your own permanent subjugation. You signal that the target is compliant, liquid, and terrified. You become a recurring line item in a criminal enterprise's quarterly projections. They will come back in 6 months, then 3, then every time they need a capital injection. Bleeding is not a strategy. You must step outside the binary trap they have set for you. They want you to choose between pay or bleed. You will choose blind. Welcome to the Information Asymmetry Protocol. In any high-leverage crisis, true power does not belong to the entity holding the damaging asset. Power belongs to the entity controlling the flow of context. Right now, the extortionists believe they hold absolute leverage. They have the data and they control the timeline. But their confidence rests on a massive, unverified assumption. They assume you are terrified, and they assume the data they hold is your most guarded secret. You must weaponize their ignorance. The fix relies on feeding them false signals regarding your client's vulnerabilities and priorities, prompting them to miscalculate their demands or expose their network. You win by ensuring the adversary acts on an incomplete or manipulated map of reality, while you hold the complete schematic. You open the secure communication terminal on your lap. The glow turns your face into a mask of cold blue light and stark shadows. You begin to type. You do not plead for an extension. You do not threaten them with federal authorities or private military contractors. Both anger and begging are signals of emotional investment, which translates directly to weakness. Instead, you send a single, confusing, deeply technical inquiry. Message out. Acknowledge receipt of the Singapore file cache. However, the directory isn't complete. Where are the Zurich compliance logs and the DOJ subpoena responses from October 2023? We need verification that the federal honeypot wasn't compromised before we can authorize any transaction. Confirm status of Zurich files. You hit enter. The message vanishes into the encrypted void. The trap is set. You lean back against the headrest, staring at the screen. You have just injected a lethal, fast-acting dose of systemic uncertainty into their operational reality. Think about what you just did to their psychological state. You did not deny the existence or the damage of the Singapore photos. You dismissed them as secondary, almost irrelevant. By inventing Zurich compliance logs and casually dropping the phrase DOJ honeypot, you have fundamentally altered their entire risk matrix. Suddenly, the extortionists are no longer the apex predators hunting a terrified billionaire. They are staring at their own screens, a cold sweat breaking out on their necks. They are wondering what the Zurich files are. They are wondering if they missed a massive piece of the puzzle. More importantly, they are wondering if the server they breached was actually a trap set by the Department of Justice. They are questioning if the files they are currently holding are bait, and if their own digital fingerprints are already being traced by federal cyber commands. You have taken their pristine, confident map of reality and set it on fire. 30 minutes remaining. The waiting is an agony of its own. The metallic snap of your lighter resumes. Snap. Close. Snap. Close. The heavy rain continues to batter the armored glass, a relentless percussion that mirrors your elevated heart rate. A low-frequency, sustained cello drone seems to emanate from the very floorboards of the Maybach, thickening the air, making it hard to draw a full breath. This requires a sociopathic level of calm. You are playing a game of chicken with the destruction of a global empire. If they call your bluff and release the files, the patriarch will be ruined and he will ensure you are erased from the industry. You will carry the blame. But you trust the math. You trust the behavioral economics of cybercrime. These are not ideological terrorists looking to watch the world burn. They are rational actors seeking a massive, clean payday. Rational actors operate on risk assessment. They want money, not a federal indictment. By introducing the ghost of a DOJ honeypot, you have introduced infinite, unquantifiable risk into their business model. 15 minutes. The red glare of the timer reflects in the polished wood veneer of the cabin. 10 minutes. You stop snapping the lighter. You sit perfectly still, a statue in the dock, watching the terminal. 5 minutes. The suffocating dread reaches its absolute peak. The silence in the car is so profound it rings in your ears. 4 minutes. The screen flickers. The red countdown timer vanishes. The portal interface refreshes.
Steady.
A new, single line of text appears in plain, unformatted font. Message in. Connection server. Cache deleted. Then the portal goes dead. Error 404. The server is wiped. The digital footprint is gone. They panicked. Faced with the sudden, terrifying prospect that they had accidentally stepped into a federal sting, they chose self-preservation over the payout. They dropped the asset and ran back into the deep web, because you made the shadows look like a trap. The information asymmetry protocol functioned flawlessly. You blinded them with a false context, and they defeated themselves. You exhale. It is a long, slow breath that mists the cold glass beside you for a fraction of a second. The crushing weight on your chest lifts, replaced by a heart, adrenaline-depleted exhaustion. You pick up the satellite phone. You dial the single asterisk. It rings half a time before it is answered. Well, the patriarch demands, his voice trembling. It's handled, you say. Your voice is flat and icy as before. The threat is neutralized. The files are purged. No funds were transferred. A long, heavy silence hangs on the line. You can hear a sound of a man relearning how to breathe. How? He asks, the authority slowly creeping back into his voice now that the danger has passed. You don't need to know, you reply. The shield held. Go back to sleep. You terminate the connection for the final time tonight. You place the phone face down on the leather. You do not celebrate. There is no victory lap. Tomorrow, another crisis will emerge. Another fire will start in the penthouse, and you will be called to extinguish it. You look out the window into the driving rain. You have survived the hemorrhage. You have mastered the asymmetry of power. You are ready to ascend.